All right, let's dive right into this explainer and uncover a pretty wild, counterintuitive mystery that is literally stalling the entire commercial aviation industry right now. When we look up at the sky, we expect this constant, forward-marching innovation. But behind the scenes, there's actually a massive, hidden roadblock keeping the next generation of aircraft firmly on the ground.
So what is the biggest problem in the airline industry today? You'd probably immediately think, oh, it's got to be soaring fuel prices, or maybe those widespread pilot shortages we hear about, right? But underneath all of that, there is a much more fundamental, deeply mechanical issue that is causing airlines and aircraft lessors to absolutely pull their hair out.
Section 1. Where are the new planes? Missing replacements.
If we look at the aging fleets of aerospace giants like Boeing and Airbus, we really have to ask a simple question. Why on earth aren't they announcing true replacements? Just look at the missing milestones here. Boeing hasn't announced any real replacement for the 737. The Airbus A320 family, that design is going to be turning 40 years old in a couple of years. And even the low-hanging fruit, like a highly anticipated stretched version of the modern Airbus A20, simply isn't happening. Airbus has done the prep work, but they just aren't pulling the trigger. Why? Well, the harsh truth is that airlines and lessors just don't want new planes right now. They're actually incredibly unhappy with the highly advanced planes they've recently bought.
Section 2. The Embraer Clue. A contradiction.
To find out exactly why these multi-billion-dollar buyers are so frustrated, let's look at a really glaring contradiction in the design of an ultra-modern military cargo plane, the Embraer C390. Now, this aircraft has cutting-edge active side sticks and incredibly modern avionics. But Embraer purposefully chose an engine design that was first certified way back in 1988, the V2500 turbofan. They could have totally waited for newer, vastly more efficient engines that were in development at the time. But no, they actively chose a 40-year-old design.
And Embraer made this choice because they knew their military customers wanted a reliable workhorse they could count on day in and day out. They value mature durability and predictability way more than raw fuel efficiency. And as we're about to see, this exact sentiment is something that commercial airline managers are desperately starting to share.
Section 3. Efficiency versus durability. The core conflict.
This brings us right to a fatal flaw hidden inside hyper-efficient modern engines, like the CFM LEAP and the Pratt & Whitney Geared Turbofan or GTF. To understand the problem, we kinda have to understand how these new engines save fuel in the first place. It's all about what's called a high bypass ratio. Basically, this is an engine design where most of the air goes around or bypasses the engine core. These brilliant modern engines give planes like the Boeing 737 MAX a massive 14 to 15% fuel efficiency boost over previous generations. But that efficiency, it comes at a really steep mechanical cost because it requires larger and incredibly sensitive internal components.
These new engines are, frankly, delicate prima donnas. Think of the new CFM LEAP like a delicate track day sports car. It's highly efficient, sure, but incredibly sensitive. Compare that to the absolute workhorse durability of the older generations, like the CFM 56, which is basically a resilient old Volvo station wagon. It burns more fuel, yes, but it starts up fast, and its roots actually trace all the way back to military bombers.
The sensitivity of these new engines impacts daily operations in a huge way. For example, pilots face agonizing delays right at the gate. Why? Because the new LEAP engine literally has to be straightened slowly during startup. Changing temperatures mean the main shaft connecting that huge fan to the engine gets slightly deformed when it's shut down. So if a plane pushes back in front of you, you're suddenly losing several minutes just waiting for this extremely delicate sequence to complete itself.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that the massive fuel savings promised by these new planes are practically canceled out. Why? Because these new engines wear out and require maintenance at a genuinely alarming rate. The LEAP engine needs to come into maintenance facilities twice as often as the older CFM 56 it replaced, and half the durability means grounded planes and massive headaches for the airlines. And it gets worse. When these engines do finally go in for an overhaul, the price tag is staggering. When the time comes to actually overhaul just one of these new LEP engines, the cost for the work alone is a jaw-dropping $10 million.
To put that into perspective, overhauling the older CFM 56 engine costs only $3 million. This highlights the massive financial pain airlines are feeling right now. Not only are the new engines breaking down more often, but they cost more than 3 times as much to fix when they do. It's a total double whammy.
Section 4. The Unhappy Buyers. Financial Chaos.
Let's look at how this delicate technology is creating a ripple effect of absolute chaos across the entire aviation ecosystem. First, you've got the airlines. They're suffering from grounded fleets, which causes hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost daily revenue per aircraft. Next, the lessors. They are fuming over plummeting asset values. Sometimes they're even forced to scrap brand new planes just to harvest working engines for other desperate clients. And finally, the engine makers themselves. They are bleeding money by having to perform unexpected, major overhauls entirely under warranty for free.
To see just how extreme this gets, consider Spirit Airlines. Before their bankruptcy, Spirit literally chose to fly older, less efficient legacy A320s because the unpredictability of the new GTF engines on their NEOs was completely ruining their operations. They returned nearly all of their newer planes to lessors. For them, predictability and actually keeping planes in the air was far more valuable than saving a few bucks on fuel.
And what about those lessors? Remember, they own more than half the world's airliners, so they hold the real power here. There's this telling quote from Angus Killey, CEO of the major leasing firm AerCap, that shows exactly how hostile they are to Boeing or Airbus pitching them anything new right now. When asked about buying a new plane, he essentially told them, "Make sure the door doesn't hit you on the way out. I want the stuff you've built to work better first."
Section 5. A stalled future. Zero appetite.
So where does this leave the future of commercial flight if the biggest buyers have absolutely zero interest in the next generation of aircraft? Well, it leaves us stuck. Amazing upcoming technologies like the incredibly advanced CFM Rise Open Fan project, Pratt & Whitney's GTF upgrades, and the Rolls-Royce UltraFan are effectively stalled out. The market simply has zero appetite to take a multi-billion-dollar risk on unproven engine reliability ever again. And the manufacturers themselves are completely trapped. You see, engine makers traditionally sell their engines at a massive loss up front, expecting to make their profit back on long-term service contracts over decades. But because they're doing all this early repair work for free under warranty, they haven't even recouped their development cost on the current generation. They literally cannot afford to launch new engines yet.
Plus, the lessors will actively fight against any new plane launches. Think about it. If Airbus launched that A20 stretch tomorrow, it would immediately tank the value of the A320neos that lessors currently own, planes that they're already struggling to squeeze a profit from due to all these engine groundings. They need market stability to recover their investments first. Which leaves us with a final, somewhat unsettling thought for this explainer. If our relentless pursuit of fuel efficiency has effectively ruined the durability that airlines rely on to survive, how many years are we going to be stuck flying planes designed for a bygone era? Until manufacturers can prove that the future won't break down at the gate, we might just be waiting on the tarmac for a very long time.